Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Rachel.
Hello. Wonderful. Thank you so much for both of you for joining today. We've got quite a lot of people on the live already, so I think I will just jump into it. So welcome to the live, everybody. My name is Rachel and I am part of the marketing team here at EKM. And today we're going to be talking about probably one of the most craziest years that we've ever seen, especially with the coronavirus outbreak affecting pretty much every part of our lives. And it's had an unprecedented impact on UK businesses across every industry. Some, unfortunately, have been severely affected and others have boomed. Today, I am here with our EKM CEO, Anthony, and Guim, who is Director of Partnerships at PayPal. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? Should we start with Anthony?
Yes, I'm the founder and CEO of EKM. The company's been going, I think most of our watchers probably know that, but about 18 years or so now, and we predominantly help small and medium online businesses to sell online and hopefully do something that they love, which I think it's never been more important really in this day and age. I think the amount of people who've gone through this unprecedented time, and I hate saying that word because everyone says that now, don't they, unprecedented time, but they've gone through this. We've helped like thousands upon thousands of people set up online businesses and actually get through this. We've helped them, their families, their employees, their families, and their customers actually get the products that they want. So yeah, it's been a bizarre 9 months, but I'm very, very proud of what the team at EKM have done and the amount of people who've helped and the e-commerce industry in general as well. I know PayPal and everyone in this sector has done so much to help small businesses. So yeah, it's been a strange time.
And hi, Rachel. So I'm Guillaume, and sorry for the French accent. As you can tell, I'm French. I'm based in Paris, and my team and I we look after PayPal partners across Europe, and EKM is obviously one of the most important partners we have. Our goal here is just to help out you and your merchants to get the best out of our services. So I'm really excited to be with you here. Just to help out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to you both. So, as most of you will know, Black Friday is a week away, just 1 week away from today. So we're going to be talking about how the previous 8 months have affected businesses, what current restrictions currently mean for businesses and how this might affect Black Friday levels in regards to online shopping and digital payments. And if you do have any questions for either Anthony or Guim, if you could pop them in the comments and I will try and get to them at the end of the questions. So let's begin with what happened at the start of lockdown in March. Guim, what kind of changes did you see in the online payment space?
Well, a complete shakedown. But actually it was, we had different steps. The first one was actually before the lockdown, where there was a huge reversal of money flows in certain verticals that were shutting down starting in February. So for example, in travel, in events, all the verticals that were actually already highly digitalized, actually the money came back and there was, huge reimbursement amount. The second step was maybe a week before the lockdown, and that continued across the lockdown, was huge growth in certain verticals. Groceries, computer and online equipment, do-it-yourself equipment, the basics, but also fashion, gaming. We saw a lot of, not double digit, but triple digit growth across those space. And I think, I speak for myself, but I think I can speak of everyone, getting your parcel from your online merchant was probably the highlight of our lives during lockdown. So we all relate to that. What is interesting is after the end of the lockdown, we were seeing a normalization, but a normalization at a much higher rate. What we think is that consumer behaviors changed. And if you look at the equation, it's pretty simple. Is you have more online shoppers, you have more online spending, and you have more online merchants. So the overall equation is growing. So for us, we in a nutshell, what we think is we've gained in 6 months, we've probably gained 5 years of digitalization. So it's that's the plus side. But on the other end, we also what we see is that it's been a very difficult moment for all of us. Working from home, that's tough, but also the supply chains, the new organization, the general anxiety, and we know it's been difficult for all of us and for all of our merchants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for that answer. And to kind of follow on from that, Anthony, what kind of changes have we sort of seen in the e-commerce space?
Well, it's similar to Green, really. It's when lockdown happened, the orders and things going through literally doubled, and ever since that initial lockdown, every day has been bigger than Black Friday. And it's just been immense for online. It's been absolutely immense. I mean, it's been life-changing for many people around the world. What's gone on, of course it has, but it's been life-changing for entrepreneurs and business owners that have had to adapt and to sell online. And those that are already selling online have absolutely flown with this. It's just been phenomenal. It's pushed the world on about 4 or 5 years, really. I mean, this was going to happen anyway. You know what I mean? People were always going to start buying online. Like, the death of the high street has only been accelerated by coronavirus. This has not been caused by it. I mean, I've been very vocal in the past with stuff like this. Like, councils and government have been desperately trying to kill the high street for years, with business rates and things like that. So that's been a big shift. This entire shift to online, and people aren't going to go back. I mean, once you start buying stuff online, you see how easy it is, and you forget that e-commerce only makes up a small percentage. It's like 20% or something like that. You're always on your figures, aren't you, Rachel? It's about 20%, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it still only makes up a small percentage of total commerce. But all of a sudden, everything's been thrust online. And this isn't just your small retailers. This is your big retailers. This is your car showrooms, your people selling boats and yachts. These are like everything. It's across the spectrum that people are actually buying online. So it's just been immense. It's pushed the world on, and it needed to happen, because for too long we've been held up by, well, this is just the way it's been done, and I hope that a lot of the advancements that's come from this, both in e-commerce and in the general business world, stay, in terms of, like, you only have to look at like the NHS and things like that. Like, now when you need to see a doctor, you can do a video call with them, you can do phone calls. So instead of having to go drive for an hour to your GP, wait an hour in the waiting room to see someone, all of a sudden it's all been optimized and improved, like every business has had to do, and like we all have had to do in our own lives. It's all we've had to optimize and improve ourselves. So yeah, it's, from that side of things, it's been great. It really has. And I am an eternal optimist. I know this can descend into doom and gloom, and I'm sure we'll have some questions about it, and we can all be doom and gloomy about all the bad things that's happened. But I think you've got to look at it. You can have a look at things positive or negative, and I think it's one of these, you have a laugh or you cry. So I'd rather be laughing, really. I'd rather be looking at the positivity in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people have been trying to focus on during this time, is keeping that positivity up, looking at the bright side of things. And obviously, when we came out of lockdown, the first lockdown, the government tried to kind of introduce new initiatives to kind of get people out there when we thought it was a bit more safer. So did much of this sort of change when they launched initiatives like Help Out to Eat Out, as more people were hitting the high streets, going back to restaurants? Did we see a drop, or was everything still the same?
Well, you answer it, yeah.
Well, I think it's always good when you have initiatives to support local shops, and I think the UK and offline shops in the UK benefited from this. There was probably less initiatives like that across Europe. So overall, it's positive. However, compared to what Andonis was saying, this shift that we saw during the lockdown, there's no going back. So there's no, you can support and help them and those merchants, but the trend is there. And I think also consumers also realize that they could benefit it from both worlds at the same time. It was not, it's not a 0+ game. It's the pie is growing. I think the second thing for us, which I think we should all be very proud of, is the growth is not only for the large retailers, the very large ones. Actually, the growth that we're seeing is for the small and medium businesses. And I think it's interesting to see that consumers, they probably were using one big shop before the lockdown and before the COVID. And now they are more confident, they know how to shop online, and they're actually going to buy to their local shops, but on their website. And I think that's something where we can help to reassure those consumers and to support those merchants.
Thank you. Anthony, same question to you.
Well, yeah, I, again, echoing that. I mean, it's been great to see, even when that first lockdown happened, even around where we live, I know my wife and myself were like, you were trying to buy food and stuff from local suppliers, and at the time you couldn't get it online, and then very quickly they all adapted to the point now where you are buying more stuff from local independent retailers actually rather than the big ones, because they've got their act together. Because this is the thing, and I know it's a question we get asked a lot of times, and we'll probably get asked it today, like people think it's all these big ones like your Amazons, how do you compete against them, and why would someone choose Amazon rather than you? It's because they make it easier than you. If prior to this, if I wanted to buy, I don't know, a loaf of bread or something, and to order it from my local independent retailer that I'd love to support, I have to walk into the shop, stand in a queue to get it, or at best I have to ring up, be on hold for it just to get through to someone, and yeah, Bob will bring it round a week on Thursday. We're not sure when he'll turn up. Or I can go onto Amazon and go click, done. I'm going to choose the easiest thing, because that's what we do as humans. We look for the easiest way of doing things. And so this has forced businesses to up the game. And so now I can get eggs and bread and milk from local suppliers, which is amazing. And that means that money's going to the local economy, which is amazing. And that's what everyone's got to do. They've got to up the game, haven't they? And so, yeah, it's just been, like I say, it's just been phenomenal, really. And yeah, I'm excited about it, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Just to kind of move on from that, similarly, during those months out of lockdown within the UK, on the payment side of things, Graham, did we see a shift in how people were paying? Were they choosing digital wallets, cards, cash still? Like, was there a massive shift, or was it still very much similar to how it was when we were in lockdown?
So this area, I would say it's our expertise. And because, we manage both wallets and cards payment and credit, I think the first thing that is striking is the security piece of the reassurance. And what we believe is that the different wallet proposition is actually increasing. Mm-hmm. And for the reason, it's because the convenience. I think it's the experience that some retailers have built, like Amazon or others, is a one-click experience, and our wallets are usually the best way to enable this for all merchants. Second piece is the security, because the supply chain and the postal services were also struggling a bit, so there was a bit of anxiety from the consumers around it, and we were bringing this reinsurance. So first the wallets, yeah, I think the usage is increasing. The second piece, which we believe is also going to stick, is how how you enable new experience offline, whether it's via NFC or via QR code that we've launched for small businesses in the UK. Merchants and consumers are looking for the best way to buy. And even if it's offline, it will have an online component, or even click and collect, like those sort of things. The third piece for me, which is very interesting, because I do compare between country in Europe, and the UK was probably the most advanced country in Europe in terms of online payment and online digitalization. The percentage that you've quoted, 20%, is probably the highest. However, the UK has been the one growing the fastest, even after lockdown. So it means that even though we are advanced, there's still huge room to grow and to support the consumers.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. It's quite an insightful answer. So kind of moving on from our lockdowns and how that's kind of affected shopping trends, and back to kind of where we are now currently. Obviously, we are currently in a lockdown in the UK. It's due to end in a couple of weeks' time. Whether it will or not is to be seen. However, do you think that furlough and/or economic recession fears will impact numbers on this Black Friday? Should we start with Anthony?
Yeah, will lockdown end on the 2nd of December? I think, like everyone else, I'm probably very skeptical that that'll actually happen. I mean, it's one of them. It's a little bit. I think they've done a good job in the circumstances, depending on what your thoughts are. But sometimes it's like a comedy double act, isn't it? In terms of, we're going to come out of lockdown on this day, and then the Chancellor comes along and says, well, we're going to extend this till this date, but for no reason, just in case, and they all start covering themselves. Like right now, the rhetoric coming out is that if we're lucky, we might get a bit of a Christmas together. And so it's like, well, hang on, we're being released on the 2nd, aren't we? So we should be all having a Christmas together. So they're preparing us for that now anyway, aren't they? And in terms of the economic side of things, this furlough thing, all they're doing at the moment is kicking this ball down the field. I mean, it was supposed to end, wasn't it, at the end of October or whatever, and it was going to be dire. It was going to be dire, let's be honest, because the amount of people who are on furlough at the moment, there's a hell of a lot. And all they've done is they've kicked that ball further down the field. So that problem is coming at some point. And there's a lot of people on furlough, because you've got to remember that ignoring obviously people in hospital and stuff and the deaths and stuff, which is obviously, it's tragic, it's terrible. The people on furlough and things like that, for the most part, have actually had an all right time, because the majority of people have had 80% of the salary sat at home, not having to do much. So actually, there's a lot of people and a lot of businesses have actually done very well out of this. The government support in this country has been phenomenal. Actually, it's been one of the biggest spends of any country in Europe. It's been phenomenal. There's people who've made a fortune off the back of all this furlough and all these benefits and things. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget, at this exact moment in time, the majority of people, even if they furloughed, are actually better off. But I think looking at it from a sort of a macro level, a bigger level looking in, at some point these people are going to get laid off, and that is not going to be good. That is not going to be good, because these businesses, they're not just going to pop straight back. At the minute that they release lockdown, everyone is not going to go and jump on a plane and go on holiday, although I will be near the front of that queue, so I'm desperate to get some heat. Don't like this cold weather. But that's the thing, it's not instantly going to pop back. There's a lot of pent-up demand, but it's not instantly going to pop back. And the other thing is from a lot of stuff we've been speaking about, a lot of companies have optimized themselves, and actually they've realized they don't actually need as many people as what they did before. They can actually optimize things in a more efficient way as well. And so there's going to be a hell of a tidal wave coming towards people. And what does that mean for online? Well, it means people have less money to spend. So obviously that'll hit retail across the board. But generally, when there is a bad recession like that, people start going online, because for a start, they start looking at ways to save money. They look for those deals. They look for the quickest and easiest ways where they can save money, which is online traditionally. And also, from our perspective as EKM and also for PayPal, people will look at setting up more businesses because they'll need extra income sources. So again, it will be another, I mean, anyone now who's not selling online, because I'm sure there's still some, I don't know how you could have got to this point now and not realized you should be selling online. When it gets to the recession and it gets dire, that'll be the final nail in the coffin for a lot of these businesses. And I think it'll force even more to go online who aren't. So yeah, it's not going to be pleasant. But you've got to remember, out of every recession, again, and I know I'm trying to be positive here, because I genuinely am with it. Out of every recession, that's when all the businesses pop up. You know, every recession, there's someone in a bedroom somewhere tapping away on a computer, making the next Google, the next Amazon, the next PayPal, the next EKM. There is that. That's what happens out of a recession. Things pop up. So the next internet giant or the next retail giant is actually waiting, and it's going to be created during a recession, because they're some of the best times ever to do this sort of thing and create the businesses, because you've got nothing to lose, and you know what I mean, you're at the bottom of the market. So yeah, it's either exciting or terrifying, depending on how you want to see it. But I'd like to be the optimist and think that there's some positivity there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or a bit of both. Same question to you, Goyim.
No, I would echo Anthony here. I think what we see is that there is uncertainty of what will happen in H1. And you know, how fast we get the vaccine, how relaxed the measures will be, you know, after Christmas. It remains to be seen. And this uncertainty is, you know, for sure, it's not good for businesses and for all of us. So we do worry about that. The second thing is that I think to Anthony's point, salaries across Europe hasn't been impacted as in the US, for example. So we don't expect, you know, a much lower level of the shopping season, for example, for Christmas. But we do think that people will save a bit more, probably spend a bit less. However, where are they going to spend it? They're going to spend it online, whether it's for their groceries, for some gifts, like they're going to buy it online. So it really depends on where you're positioned. But there is still room to grow in this period, and there's still room to grow in 2021 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just on that, is that what you're saying? With in terms of savings and money that people have, the saving rate in the UK has never been higher. There's more people with savings in the bank balance than ever in the history of like everness. I don't know how far it goes, but that's how far it is. And there's more people paying off the credit cards and all the debts, because like I say, people at the moment, people are having it good because they can't spend the money. There's no one spending anything on commuting really, so most people are a few £100s a month better off. And you can't go into many shops because you're not competing, you know, there's no way to go. So there's all this pent up demand. I was reading an article, and more towards the first bit of lockdown, but like in China, for example, when they started to release people there, the sales of all luxury items like Cartier watches and things like that shot up massively, because people had that much excess cash. They're going to treat themselves, so they're going to go and buy that fancy handbag or that fancy watch. So there's definitely that pent up demand, and money burns a hole in people's pockets. So like you're saying, they're going to spend it, aren't they? And they're going to spend it online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I think we have definitely seen that as a trend this year, especially in EKM and sort of like across the board. Spending levels are up during the first lockdown, I think it was about 100% for us compared to last year's sort of levels, and that trend has continued and is now growing as we're getting closer to Black Friday. So having said that, obviously it's safe to say that those levels are crazy this year since the March lockdown was announced, and obviously with the second set of lockdown restrictions now in place and due to end soon, like I was saying earlier, what are we currently seeing in these online shopping trends? Is it a particular industry that people are going for? Is it just everything? What do we think? Anthony, should we start with you?
God, everything in it, really. I mean, the first lockdown, it was very much anyone selling PPE or anything like that to do with safety was absolutely rocking, or hobbies and things like that, like people selling jigsaws, toys, games, stuff like that. I think now it's people using that excess income. So we're seeing big rises in things like homeware, things like that, and not so much now, so it's start to die off now, but gardens and things like that prior to when weather were a little bit nicer. But people are investing in the home. If you can't go on holiday this year, let's be honest, holiday is a total write-off. You might as well spend it on your home, and it does literally burn a hole in people's pocket. People are desperate to spend it. So the interesting thing will actually be is when this does eventually end and people have to start going back into work and stuff, and all these costs that they didn't have creep back in. What they'll miss that excess cash that they had to spend online, won't they? That's I suppose the biggest thing. The question is, isn't it, that when it returns to normal, that will change people's habits in terms of, hang on, I'm having to pay for petrol now. I've not paid for that for 12 months, and how much that'll be resented, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, homeware, toys, it's pretty much everything really. I can't say I'm seeing sectors that are really being badly hit. Your obvious ones, so your catering, hospitality, things like that, obviously. But I mean, that goes without saying. But yeah, it's been good across the board. Like I say, we're up, our customers are up, should I say, are up massively, aren't they? It's just been, it's great. It's great to see it. It really is, and it's great to see it. And I'm having a conversation with someone online on the community the other night, and I've had this conversation a couple of times. Actually, I was actually speaking to someone the other week about it, and that people feel a bit embarrassed or a bit bad about making money or profiting off what's going on in the world. You know, people, especially in the UK as well, because, you know, people funny about talking about money and stuff. People feel bad about being positive and talking positive, because they do. You feel bad about it. And even I know what I'm saying when I'm trying to be positive. There'll be certain people going, you shouldn't be being positive about this. It's all these people have died and things. But I think if you are in business, and probably anyone actually, not in business, you've got a civil duty to make profit. You've got a civil duty to make your business thrive, because you've got to look after yourself. It's like putting that oxygen mask on in a plane. You know, they always tell you to put your oxygen mask on first so you can help other people. That's what this is about. That's what this whole thing's about. That's what business is about. In terms of, you've got to help yourself. You've got to help you, your family, your employees and their families, and your customers by helping them get the products that they want. Because then if you do that, you can make a difference. You can make a difference. You can, if you make tons of profits off this and you do really well, you can, if you want to, give that money to charity. Funnel it to the areas where you can make a difference. You can, and even if you don't, even if you think, well, I'm not going to give it to charity, Rishi Sunak will be giving it to where he thinks it should be going, because he'll be coming for us all. He'll be coming for us, and he'll donate it. And so it's your civil duty to do that. And I don't think it's something that we should be embarrassed of or feel bad about, making money and actually helping people during this crisis. I think it's a really good thing to do. And I'm fed up of seeing all these people that sit at home complaining about this and that, and what about this, what about, and they don't get off the backside and do something about it. Do you know what I mean? Get off your backside, set up a business, earn some money, and then give it to the charities that you want to give it to. Help people. If you've got a problem, it's not somebody else's problem, is it? You can actually do this stuff. And that's the really, I hope that's the message that comes out of this entire thing, really, that now is the time for you to make a difference and do something.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that answer, Anthony. Green, same question to you. Do you think there's been any changes in the online payment space with regards to sort of like industry trends and things like that?
Well, you know, the level of growth is unprecedented, and it's been like that since March. But going back to Anthony's point, I think it's also our mission to compare to this growth and compare to the overall situation of the merchants, that we, you know, the benefits we're taking from it, we actually reinvested it. You know, just a couple of examples is we lifted the chargebacks and the cost of the refunds for a certain period of time. And we've also invested quite significantly on our platform to actually help those merchants. So the QR code initiative is one of them. And very recently, we are now launching, well, we had PayPal Credit in the UK for a couple of years, but very recently we're launching our buy now, pay later options for consumers and for our merchants. And this is the type of initiative where, you know, we see the trend where consumers want to, you know, spread their costs in 4 installments or 3 installments. And we are trying to adapt our product to fit that. And it's going to be at, you know, no cost for the consumer, no cost for the merchant, and it will be available for everyone. So this is where we are trying to match new behaviors and reinvest the growth directly to the merchants and the partners.
There's been a massive increase in this buy now, pay later stuff, and I'm just flicking through some questions as well on the thing at the same time. But there's been a massive growth in this buy now, pay later thing. I'm interested. I mean, it's me asking a question now. Really. I'm interested. What are your thoughts on it in terms of the benefits that provides for obviously retailers and consumers, and also some of the pitfalls as well?
Well, it's, you know, it's clearly a way to better manage your budget, and also to cope with the issues or the bumps on the road in your life. For example, you know, your fridge breaks down, you need to buy a new one. Will you buy the cheap version of it, or will you buy a bit more expensive one that will last longer, but you don't have the money to spend right there? Then we're going to help you, you know, spread the installments in 3 times. So this is the way we look at it. I think the issue or the silver lining is that we have a duty also to be very transparent with the consumers and with the merchant. Very transparent on the cost, if there are costs, and we have to be very transparent in terms of communication and reporting, because, you know, it also it's not credit, but it's potentially credit, and in areas with uncertainty, we should be, you know, cautious about promoting solutions that have long-term consequences to the consumers.
Yeah, because that's obviously one of the criticisms of this buy now, pay later thing, which is obviously massive now at the moment, is this thing of, is it like a Wonga.com? Is it you're enabling people who can't afford to buy something and stick it on credit, and at some point in the future that's going to come back. Like what are companies like PayPal and things doing about that? What are you doing to mitigate that, or to?
Well, I think we have tons of experience in the UK with our consumer base, because we have, you know, more than 20 million consumers in the UK using PayPal. We have been in this space also with PayPal Credit for many years, and we've been always very cautious about, you know, lending money to consumers who will not be able to afford. So it's all about also the decline rate, like how do you agree for certain consumers or not, and we try to be very responsible about it. And the second piece is also really about the communication, because the experience of the purchase, it can be like, oh yeah, buy it and you will worry later, or it's buy it and this is, you know, the clear installment plan that you're going to get, and this is the dates, and this is, I think, where the difference is. It's all about the communication you bring to the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think just to add on to the sort of like buy now, pay later side of things, I think for merchants especially, it can be quite a valuable tool for their checkout, you know, enabling the customer to be able to increase their basket value, maybe buying that expensive item that they might not be able to quite afford, but they can spread the cost for the, it does make it easier for those high value items to actually get that conversion and go through that checkout process. So I think it is a good option for merchants personally.
Oh, it definitely works. I mean, even like the new Xbox and stuff like that you can't get hold of. Although I know there's a few people at eChem who've managed to somehow grab hold of one. They have to share the secret. That you get more viewers actually if we did a secret on how you get hold of these games consoles. But even like Microsoft, they're allowing you to split the cost of that, aren't they? So even like these big companies now are doing this sort of stuff as well. They're allowing you to split the cost of things, and it's becoming more. I suppose it's a bit like what happened with the car market, isn't it? Like cars used to be, going back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you used to have to buy a car, but you went in and bought a car outright. And now it's like, even when you see cars advertised, it's the monthly cost, isn't it? So as a culture, we've got used to this idea you pay for things monthly as opposed to an outright purchase of it. So it's just interesting, isn't it? It's a new thing for a lot of retailers as well to think about offering buy now, pay later on their shops, because it's not something that traditionally people had access to. It was the car dealerships and things like that, wasn't it, that had the finance thing? But now any of us could offer buy now, pay later on a product, which is quite, again, it's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think personally, I think Black Friday is going to be amazing, which kind of brings me on to the next question. So the trends that we are seeing currently and what we've seen across the year in the e-commerce space and the online payment space, do we think that we're going to see an absolutely unrivaled level of online orders on Black Friday through to Cyber Monday? Do we think it's going to kind of extend? Because I've seen, as of today, I've seen some Black Friday campaigns launched already. What kind of levels of orders do we think we're going to get on Black Friday? Anthony?
It's going to be mental, isn't it? I mean, I kept, one of my things I kept saying in lockdown 1.0 or whatever was that for the first time ever in the history of everness, which is a long time ago, online retailers weren't having to compete with the high street. Well, for the first time ever, online retailers aren't having to compete with the high street again for Black Friday, which is one of the biggest shopping days for online. So it's going to be absolutely immense. Absolutely immense. You can see it already. You can see it on our traffic levels across our shop network. It's literally shooting up like that. It's like a hockey stick type thing. It's going straight up. And also, there's been a lot of rhetoric. Now, I suppose the interesting thing will be actually on Black Friday itself. There's been a lot of rhetoric in the news and stuff about ports stacking, like Felix store at the moment, is absolutely chock-a-block with pallets and stuff. And the news has been quite on it to tell people, look, if you're buying stuff for Christmas, certainly for your kids and stuff, you need to get it ordered early this year because there may be delays. And so I think what you'll find is some of that volume that would have happened later on in the year, really, really close to Christmas and stuff and past Black Friday, will have been brought forward a little bit because people are panicking. I know we've been buying bits of stuff for the kids already, whereas normally we'd probably wait to last minute. I mean, I'm a bloke, so normally I'm one of these people you see on Christmas Eve at Trafford Centre going around buying stuff. Because it always is. Trafford Centre on Christmas Eve, it's just full of blokes running around John Lewis trying to find something. I think people now have realised they've got to do it sooner. So yes, it'll be massive, but I think it's going to be blended a little bit because everyone's got it in the head that they need to be buying this stuff sooner than what they normally would have done.
Mm-hmm. Kareem, same question to you.
Yeah, the seasonality will be quite different. I think actually Black Friday has already started. If you look at certain verticals like toys, even as late September, we were seeing growth in that vertical. And people were anticipating issues with supply chain and mail delivery. So, it has already started. Now, that being said, the Singles Day in China, we saw a record this year, and there's no surprise. Black Friday and Cyber Monday will be absolutely crazy in the UK this year, for sure. Probably a bit more spread, so not one day, but a couple of days. It has already started. And the last piece for me, just also for all of the merchants of ecom, is Black Friday is now it's a European or it's a global phase. So you have to also think about, how you can sell in Germany, in Italy, in Spain, in the US. There's really some opportunities here, and merchants should benefit from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually have quite an interesting statistic here in my notes. So in a typical year, EKM, we see an average of about a 73% revenue increase on Black Friday itself, compared to other sort of like normal days throughout the year. But this year, our quote unquote normal days are 100% higher than last year. And we've kind of projected that Black Friday levels this year are going to be, again, maybe 40-50% higher than that. So really need to be taking advantage of this sort of week if you are a merchant. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But with that, and with lockdown potentially ending on the 2nd of December, if Black Friday sales are extended, as we suspect that they're going to be for many merchants, what do you think that means for brick and mortar shops who may be able to open from December 2nd? Anthony, should we start with you?
Well, it depends on which brick and mortar shops. I mean, some like supermarkets, The Range, all these own bargains, all the ones that have managed to find the loopholes in terms of being classed as essential retail. Obviously, they're busy now. I mean, this second lockdown isn't like the first lockdown. That first lockdown, I remember coming into the office occasionally and the roads were dead. It was quiet. Everything was shut up. It was like something off The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? It was like, it was just nothing about. Lockdown 2, unless you watch the news to realise there was a lockdown, I don't think you'd even know there was a lockdown, being totally honest. I mean, all the shops are busy. I know the garden centre, just up past the office, at weekends, it's chock-up, but they have to have police there to manage the roads because it's absolutely packed out. And so some have actually managed to do massively well off this anyway, because they've managed to class themselves as essential retail. Now, what the requirements are to do that, I don't know, but I know damn well if I had a big toy shop or something like that, I'd have started selling bread and milk after lockdown number 1 just to be classed as essential retail. So some of them have already benefited from it because there's not much competition. People are going out shopping. The houses are just behind here, it's packed. Do you know what I mean? There's people going shopping, whatever you think, whatever you sat watching the news thinking no one's going out, they are. So come the 2nd of December, if they allow us out, yeah, the high street will be busy because people are fed up. People are absolutely fed up and they will be going out. Of course they will. It's something to do, but not everyone will. Because you know, this is like a tale of two halves, isn't it? Half of people are kind of a bit blasé about this now, and I've done my bit, I've had enough. But there's still a massive chunk of the population who are petrified. You sit there watching BBC News, your daily dose of negativity, absolutely petrified of what could happen if you go outside the house, absolutely terrified by it. And so you're not going to have the same volumes as what you would have had normally. You're not going to see those scenes on like Oxford Street in London where it's absolutely packed. You're just not, because it's not as fun of an experience going in with masks and things. So the massive chunk's going to go online. But we all know that traditional shopping is going to do well as soon as the shops reopen, because everyone's desperate to get out. They just are, or a big chunk of people are. So I think it's going to be good all round. But obviously, e-commerce is taking that big slice off those 50% of people who are petrified about going out as well. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be good for everyone. I do. But they've lost the bulk of the season already, haven't they? I mean, it's devastating what they've done to these small independent shops. It's absolutely devastating. And when you talk to them and you listen to what they're going through, like it must be so infuriating and soul destroying, because you've got people. And I know we have a lot of EKM customers, so they're in the same boat. They have a real shop and an online shop, and it's the online shop that's keeping them going. But they maybe sell gifts and homeware, and they've got to close. But the garden centre up the road is packed with people, and these people aren't going buying gardening. So let's be totally honest. If you go in a garden centre, no one's buying at this time of year buying bloody shrubs and plants. They're buying Christmas stuff, gifts, which they could have bought from these small independent retailers. So it's soul destroying for them, absolutely soul destroying. The only saving grace is online. It really is. I share their pain, I really do. But most of them are online now, so at least they're getting through it.
Mm-hmm. Same question to you, Goeem. Are we seeing sort of what are we going to be expecting on the payment side of things on Black Friday itself?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to change for brick and mortar?
I think it's, to be completely honest, it's quite tricky for us to answer, because we believe that some retailers will open, but it's still so uncertain when they're going to open. And the second thing we do believe is that even if people go back to the shops, the experience will be slightly different. Now that they know about online and e-commerce, they're going to want to have click and collect. They're going to have an experience that is unified between the online shops and the physical shops. I think this is something that all merchants should be working on, is how you can create a seamless experience with all the level of certainty. Because as Anthony said, 50% of the person will be petrified, and it's most likely that the persons who are petrified have more income than the ones who are not. So you have to take that into account.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And just before we kind of move on to the questions, do either of you have any sort of like final thoughts or opinions about upcoming Black Friday sales? Any advice for our merchants on what they should be doing to make sure they can sort of like make the most out of this? Anthony? Any
advice for Black Friday sales? You just got to get out there and promote. You got to get out there and promote it. And like I say, I've said many times with this, everyone has got to up the game. It's very easy to look at these big online retailers and think that, well, they can do this, but I can't. And why are people buying from them and not us? You've got to look at your processes, look at how you actually do it. So do you offer the same delivery type terms as Amazon would? If you're selling the same products as what Amazon is, and remember, Amazon is owned by a guy who has his own spaceships. This is who you're up against, the guy that has his own spaceship. So you've got to up your game. You've got to match them best you can. You've got to offer the same sort of delivery. People want the products like yesterday when they order it. They want it straight away. Do you offer good returns, things like that? So you've got to make sure you're communicating all that in all your offers and stuff as well. That I've got the safety and security. I'm going to order this thing for Black Friday. I'm going to get it. If it's not right, I can send it back. And it's just about promoting. It's about using promotion across all the channels. A lot of people decide they don't like something. So I don't like TikTok. I don't understand TikTok. It's for my kids, it's TikTok. And I personally don't really like TikTok. My daughters absolutely love it. They're on it all the time. I'm not a big fan of it. But if my customers are on TikTok, guess where I've got to be? TikTok. And it's the same with all these social networks. It doesn't matter if you dislike or like Facebook. The fact that you're probably watching this live stream means you probably do like Facebook. But if your customers are on it, you've got to get on it. So you've got to be doing remarketing. You've got to market at the people who are going to buy it, because now is the best time ever to do this. We have never, as an online retailer, you are never, hopefully, because you've done Corona thing again, you're never ever going to have this opportunity again in your lifetime that you are not competing against the high street. So jump all over it. Get your marketing on. Get posted on social media. Do live videos like this. Do a live video, talk to your suppliers, do a live video, just talk about your products. People love the passion. People, if you're passionate about what it is that you do, people buy into that and they love it. So do live videos. None of this stuff's expensive or hard to do. It isn't. We're using Zoom and Facebook Live. Anyone could do this. Facebook marketing, Google marketing, get your payment gateways on there, get PayPal on there so it's easy for people to buy from you. Make it as slick and as easy as possible. And be all over it, because this is the best opportunity ever in our lifetimes. So don't waste it. Really get all over this, and then you can use that money and stuff that you generate to invest in your business and get bigger and stronger. Honestly, it's so important to jump all over this. It really is.
Thank you. Same question to you, Gwyn.
Yeah, no, I'm really optimistic, and because we just saw the numbers for the last 6 months. And we know that the small and medium businesses in the UK can have triple-digit growth. So there is no reason why we can't make it successful. Plus, the technology is here. On platforms like EKM, where you have so many services already integrated, and when you have staff available for you, there's no barriers to entry this space. Finally, personally, I would say that the people are also fed up sometimes of those big retailers like Amazon. So there's also a room to play where you can have personal messages or have a slightly different angle, and use the same tool as Amazon, but a bit more personal. And that's maybe a key to be successful.
Thank you very much. Okay, now let's move on to, we've had some questions in the comments. I'm just going to read them and then you guys can just give some answers, or if it's something that we might not be able to answer live today, we'll definitely come back to you in the comments. So if you do have any questions, make sure to pop them down below and we'll try and get to them. The first one that I have is from Rewearable Clothing, who say, what can a small business, online business do to ensure success once the lockdown ends? Anthony?
Well, I think I pretty much covered that on my last little rant, didn't I? But you've got to up your game. Up your game. Look at the competitors you're up against. Like I say, people, like Graham said, people don't want to just buy off Amazon. They don't. They want to buy off smaller independent retailers. Of course they do. That's why high streets do have small independent retailers on there. But you've got to offer the same level of service. Because if I'm going to go and buy an Xbox, for example, and I know Amy's told us some advice on the comments, now we could get one. If I want to buy an Xbox and I can buy it from Amazon, and I know if there's something wrong with it, they'll take it back. I know that it'll be here the next day. I know I'm getting a legit product. Whereas if I buy an Xbox off you, it might take 3 weeks to get here. If there's something not right with it, you won't return it back. You won't accept it back. Who am I going to buy from? Because think about what you do yourself. So you've got to up your game. You really do with it. So that's the first thing. The same as what I've talked about earlier, the marketing. You've got to run it as a proper business. I think what happens certainly in the small and medium space, certainly with startups and things, you see a lot of like lifestyle businesses in terms of they're playing at it. So a lot of people want to have a business so they can say they've got a business basically. So yeah, I've got an online shop, and they play at it. They don't ever invest in it, but they play at it, and then they wonder why they never have success. I mean, Jeff Bezos and all these other big retailers, any retailer, John Lewis's, any of these ones, they're not playing at it. They're treating it seriously. They're treating it like a business. And I see so many people who play at it. They were not willing to invest any time or money in it. So they invest no time, no money, and then they wonder why it wasn't a success. Now, anything that's worth achieving in life is hard work. That's what makes it worth achieving. You don't get to become the best golfer in the world or the best football player or a NASA astronaut by just doing, I'm going to play it and do the bare minimum. You've got to practice it and get better and better and better at it and invest that time, effort and money into it. And so that's what I'd say to anyone really, no matter what it is, even if it's like, if your thing's going to be the best sportsman or the best racing car driver or whatever it is, you want to be the next Lewis Hamilton. I know he's all over social at the moment trying to inspire people. You've got to do it seriously. You've got to treat it seriously because you deserve that, and not treat it as a game, not as a bit of fun. And that's like a motto for life, really, isn't it? You just find something you love to do, practice it and get better and better at it, and then you can achieve success in it.
Thank you. Graham, same question to you.
It's difficult to go after Anthony on this question with your because the level of passion you're bringing, it's really inspiring. I think the last piece for me, just not to repeat ourselves, is you've been building also your CRM during the lockdown, because people who are creating accounts, you have information, you know what they like, and I think it's a gold mine. You can find new ways to reach out to those consumers to create habits, also to welcome them to your shop, to organize special events. I think you have to also stop looking at your shops as just one way to sell it, but it's also to organize your brand and the life of your consumers around it. That would be my advice.
Wonderful, thank you so much. We have another question here from Katie, who says, when lockdown is lifted and the world returns to normal completely, do you think online sales will level off instead of steadily increasing? Anthony, do you want to take this first?
There'll be an element of leveling off. I mean, I don't think you're going to see the same trajectory, so it's going to level a bit. But online sales have been increasing for years and years and years and years and years and years. I mean, back 18 years ago, when first created EKM, when they were tiny, they've been so no. That's only going to increase. This has just bumped it along 5 years, and obviously it's going bigger than what it was. So yeah, there'll be an element of leveling. Of course there will. I think everyone wants a bit of change, don't they? So once this is all over, whenever that actually is, if ever, of course there'll be a bit of a, I'm fed up of doing Zoom calls. I actually want to meet someone in real life. How about that for a bit of novelty? You know what I mean? I actually see someone in real life. I'm not even a hugger, but I'm going to give you a hug. It's, you know what I mean? It's people just want something different. But I think, yeah, this is set now. This is online is the way it is. I mean, you've only got to look at what's happening in every industry, like your Zoom calls. Do you think people are going to be traveling around the world having business meetings anymore? Probably not, because this works really well. But there'll be an element of it, and retail's no different. I mean, am I going to buy every single thing online when lockdown's over? No, I'm not, because going shopping is a social activity, it's something to go and do. But would I be buying more online, you know, than I would have done before? Yeah, of course I am, because I've been pushed more onto that. So yeah.
But there was, you know, there's going to be a lapping effect when things come. But, you know, clear example is when the restrictions were lifted after the lockdown, there was no back to normal. There was still a quite level of growth, and people will not go back to the past for sure.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you both so much for those answers. We just have another question here from Mark, and I think it's primarily directed at Green. But what's next for PayPal in terms of payments? You have buy now, pay later, and finance. What's next for you?
It's a tough one. I think what we, you know, our goal is to help merchants with all the financial services that we can bring forward. So, you know, this is our aim, and there's still so many things to do. Personally, I would echo our previous discussion around buy now, pay later. I think we want to bring this forward to everybody, but also make it in the clearest and in the most responsible way. That's one. The second piece is, I think this is also where EKM is really well positioned, is you need to bring all the functionalities of payments, emailing into one single platform. And the more we go into, you know, integrating our services with EKM and, you know, make it, you know, smooth and easy for the merchants, this is the direction we want to go.
Wonderful. That all sounds very exciting. As we are coming up to the hour mark now, if we haven't managed to get around to your questions, myself and the team will try our best to answer them after the live. And if you have anything specific for Guillaume, I can forward that on to him. If you are looking for lots of Black Friday resources, there's loads of stuff on our blog. It's ekm.com/blog. It gives you loads of advice about how to prepare for your Black Friday sale, and we also have a guide on that as well. If you do have any other questions, please let us know in the comments, and we'll try and get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much, Anthony and Green, for joining us today. I think it's been very insightful, and I think hopefully a lot of people have got sort of like a lot of helpful advice and tips and insights from today's live. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Really happy to be there. Thank you, Rachel.
No, thank you very much for joining. And thanks again, Anthony. We'll see you all on the next live next month. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers.